Alright, that's a wrap. Another day, another dollar earned. Friday night, or Friday afternoon still, because we actually still have sunlight. I kind of enjoy having this brighter now, better than the dark days that we call December. So yeah, today's episode, I feel like doing a bit of fish, feel like doing some potatoes once again. One of the best kind of foods you can ever prepare. But if you know my routine by now, you know that I am going to want to brew myself and fuel up for it. So I'm going to get started on that and get this stuff out of the way. But I think I should first get this ponytail out of the way. Voila! So yeah, if you've been following me a long time, you know that my favorite thing to put into this, well, to avoid a lot of copyright stuff and etc., is to use old school video game music. And I actually found the perfect brew to kind of symbolize all of that here. I've highlighted the Pixel Brewer before with that supersonic IPA from the past. Well, there's another IPA they've had here that I kind of wanted to try out. It's called the Panzer Paladin IPA. I don't know what I think Paladin, I think Final Fantasy or something. Because take a look, this is exactly... Well, take a look. Felix, you're in my way. Okay. Looks a bit like this. And then you're going to see like pixelated skeletons. Snow monster. Some dude riding a dragon. I mean, it doesn't get more video game-esque than that. There's no way I couldn't have tried this one out because of it. It's like 6%, so kind of par for the course when it comes to IPAs. And it says it's an unfiltered one. So it's probably a New England sort. Let's see what this is going to look like. Not bad. Looking at the color like this, it kind of makes me think of a West Coast IPA, perhaps. But then when I look here, yeah, not quite a New England IPA, but it's almost borderline. It's like crossbreed. West Coast with the East Coast. But then what does that give you? Does it give you Central? That's how geography works, doesn't it? Well, cheers everyone, and cheers Felix for interrupting me again. What am I going to do with you, cat? Okay, this one's actually pretty good too. I haven't really been disappointed by this brewery yet. And let's see, definitely a fruity one. Definitely hoppy, so it's like what I said, the Central IPA. It's a crossbreed of the West Coast and the East Side, brother. So, going back to what I was going to be cooking originally, I think I'll probably doing a filet of fish today in the oven, because I haven't done that in a little while. And while my original intention was supposed to be doing some salmon, I took a look at the prices and I saw that trout was kind of cheaper than the salmon, like maybe half the price for a filet or maybe something like that. Trout is just as good, even if technically it's almost like the bastard child of a salmon. You know, it's diluted salmon put through the filter. It's still good. And in addition to that, I've got a good amount of potatoes to put to use. I've already baked them, I've already sliced them and fried them up, I've made my own fries. It's just a question of what have I not done yet? Well, there was one recipe I'd done a while back, and that was scalloped potatoes. It's something I remember from when I was a kid from ages ago. Parents, or at least I know my mom still enjoys that. They made it a few years ago for a few friends, but I haven't done it since then. And it's like, I want to say a good 3 years since then. Holy hell, it's already been about 3 years? Fuck. So this is what I'm going to be working on tonight. In a second, because I want to enjoy some IPA and some kitty time. Hey dude, you want to have a pint with me? So in terms of scalloped potatoes, the part that's going to take the longest for you is obviously going to be peeling it and slicing them up. But then after that, it's pretty simple. Dress it up, throw it in the oven, you're good to go. So we shall get started after I'm done taking care of business here. Okay, so I'm preparing all my potatoes right now. And just to save you a lot of the tedious steps of this, I didn't want to show you how to peel potatoes because you've already seen that before. If this is your first time tuning in and you don't know how to peel potatoes, well, let me just say, just get yourself one of these. Every kitchen store has this. Does wonders, peels off a lot of potato without having to tear off a lot of potato, because if you're tearing off a lot of potato, there's nothing left to cook. So, I had a 5-pound bag for myself. I started peeling this much, which is like maybe 2 pounds, maybe 2.5 pounds, just to get myself started. Next thing I really need is a porcelain pan. They recommend around the 9-inch by 13-inch pan, but I don't have my measuring tape right now. I'm not going to try to get this done. So next step is just spray your pan with a little bit of cooking spray, because you don't want it to stick to the bottom. I accidentally sprayed this thing. Sometimes I'm an idiot. Anyways, once you have all your potatoes peeled off, it's time to slice them up. And you want to slice them up very thinly, like this kind of thickness, and then just lay it inside. This almost looks like it's about 1/4 of an inch. So keep doing that with all your potatoes, and then put it all in. And that's one of the first steps you would do. Very basic stuff. I've learned that if you slice these thin enough, they are going to cook faster. Too thick, it's going to take longer for that morsel to cook. So you want to kind of balance that out. Voila. Yeah, I'm going to keep going with this until I have half of my pan filled with potatoes. As for the other half of the potatoes, well, that's actually another step that's going to be coming up very soon, and I'll explain why. Well, I finished up a couple of potatoes here, so the pan is around halfway, give or take, fill up with sliced potatoes into my greasy pan. But this I'm going to keep aside because there is going to be another element to add into this too, which is namely your sauce. That sauce, well, your basic sauce that you put for scalloped potatoes is going to involve some milk, butter, and onion. And of course some cheese too if you want, because let's face it, everything is really good with extra cheddar added into there. Everyone loves the cheese. And then whatever else seasoning you'd want. But we would probably prepare that very soon. Add some of that sauce into here, and then you would add the rest of your potatoes. But first, before I do that, I realized that so much time has gone by peeling potatoes, like I was being punished in the army. Because again, what's the deal with peeling potatoes in the army? Somebody could correct me on that. All this to say that I've spent so much time peeling potatoes, I think I need to enjoy my beer and... False alarm. I got my beer ration set up. It's another brewer I kind of discovered a little while back, like last year or so. It's from La Gabière, and it's actually one of my favorite New England IPAs that they have on the market right now, called Ta Plus Meilleure. I would assume that with a name like that, say your best plus or Ta Plus Meilleure, like your best of the best, it better be the best fucking beer ever around. And there's a good one. The only catch, well, it's an 8% fucker, so it's a strong one. Oh well, it's Friday. I can use some fuel while I'm working up these potatoes yet again. Now this is the New England IPA Texture. Unfiltered and then some. And it's got a peach and a passion fruit flavor, which is pretty common with it too. But you don't need me to tell you that. You've already watched enough of my episodes that you've seen me highlight so and so, and such, and etc., and etc. And yeah, tropical, this one doesn't have anything about Heaven's Gates at all, so there's no sacrilege involved in it. Well, cheers once again, everyone. delicious. Okay, so your first step to make the sauce for your scalloped potatoes is to take a small saucepan, fill it up with around 2 tablespoons of butter, any kind that you want, and then you just start heating up so it could melt. Once it does melt well enough, you can add your other ingredients into that, which is namely going to be cheese, flour, milk, and seasonings that you would want in there. I think this is going to involve like a bit of salt and pepper, but first let's get this all melted just to be safe. See, I think I remember specifically the last time I made this myself. It was for a friend's birthday, like the very same birthday that I made a pork roast and a honey butter sauce, because I thought she's someone that is very picky with eating, but she likes sweets, she likes honey, maybe something with pork, and I thought, what can I do that's going to be super tender and sweet? And lo and behold, on the internet I found this one recipe that I whipped up, and it was tasty. Just the fact that she had wanted to get some seconds of that told me a lot, because it meant I did well and I'm a really good cook. And these scalloped potatoes were a pretty big hit too. Nice, easy to make technically, but once again, it just takes time to do, because the only thing you have to worry about is peeling the potatoes. Let's get this to melt. Okay, this butter is well melted now. Next step, you're going to add your flour, which is going to take around 3 tablespoons. And then just like when you're doing a bechamel sauce, you just whisk it around so it becomes kind of brownish, and then add in your milk. Well, come to think of it, that scalloped potatoes are a lot like bechamel sauce. It's almost like they're kindred spirits, separated at birth. Cousins, maybe? I don't know, maybe you know the terminology better than me. So now that I have that in, let's give it a bit of a whisk, and then let it brown up like usual. I ain't gonna give you a close-up because you've seen this countless times. Now that this is browned up, we can start adding the next ingredient, our milk. You need about a good 1.5 cups of milk. Running out over here, not even a cup left. Luckily I bought more just in case, to make sure that I didn't run out, and I had enough over the week. They say you could use fat-free milk, but truthfully 1% is practically fat-free. It's like if you watch the old Bugs Bunny cartoons, they say penguins is practically chickens. So by that logic, if you're eating a penguin, you're eating whole chicken. So 1% milk is practically fat-free. And then you gradually add it in, whisk it around, and then you add, I think, another half cup. Yep, half cup. Voila. This is going to be added in, whisked up, and then you just have to add your salt and your pepper. So this amount is going to be around 1 teaspoon of salt, slightly less because I don't want to overdo it as much, with a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. And then you just whisk it, let it get to a boil, and then your next step will be the cheese, the queso, the fromage. As usual with the bechamel style sauce, once it gets thickened up or at least come to a boil, that's when you can cut the heat and move it aside over here. And then next thing you're going to do is add your cheese. And as for the recipe that I found, they say to add around 1/2 cup of some cheddar. I don't have any extra cheddar around here, even though I'm technically a cheddar factory. So I'm going to use the next best thing, some Parmesan cheese from a little bit of old cooking in the past. Add it up to let it melt, thicken it even further. I mean, Parmesan is practically like aged cheddar, is it not? Smelly, stinky, could be brutal sometimes, but overall delicious once you get used to it. So just keep mixing it up. Let the cheese melt well and thicken this, and then you're going to keep it aside because you are going to add this to the potatoes. But I think first thing I should do, preheat the oven to 350 degrees because time flies so fast. Next thing you know, this thing's going to be preheated well and you realize, shoot, I have to eat supper. I can't spend all my time cooking and drinking without eating, right? I have to have my nutrients too, right? Right? So, the heat has been taken off, this is thickened, and I have my half pan of potatoes right here. So, the next step would be to add half of the sauce to the potato mixture while this is heating up. So I think that's a good half of it. Well, just a little bit more. Keep to the side, mix it in. Technically, you're also supposed to add some onion too, but I'm getting to the point that I don't really feel like cutting up some onions. I want to make this simple so I don't have to starve myself too much longer. So once this mixture is in, then you can add the next batch of potatoes into the pot, into the pan. So you will layer it on as well. And in case I need extra potatoes, I have some backups just in case. Yeah, like this potato I have in my back pocket. You never know if you need a stolen potato in case of an emergency, people. Ooh. Okay, that's actually smelling really good right now. I forgot how much I love scalloped potatoes. Tasty shit. Oh, I think I estimated pretty well. I may have enough potatoes that I could get the whole pan filled up and then cover the last bit of sauce onto this. It will take some time to cook, of course. There, that's the last of the potato therapy. Let's administer the final bit of the sauce. Put every last drop in here so it doesn't go to waste. Not bad at all. The oven hasn't preheated completely yet, so it gives me a bit of time to spread this, cover it up, and then get it cooking. Yeah, spread this around well. That's my best suggestion for this. And there are other recipes I saw that call for maybe some chicken or vegetable stock if you wanted to dilute it better. But then there's other recipes that say you could use a quarter cup of butter, which seems a little excessive in some cases. But that's a story for another time, I suppose. I think this is the simplest way and probably the most effective way to do scalloped potatoes. And then when you're done, just have to grab some aluminum foil, cover this up. There. And if you're hearing any background noise, I apologize. I can't drown out the sound of aluminum. There. Covered up pretty well here. And then once this gets to 350, put it in the oven for a good 50 minutes. There. Get it inside the oven, let it bake. And then cook it for 50 minutes. And there you have it. Well, there's still going to be plenty of time in between when the potatoes are done and also when I'm going to be ready to do my fish. So it gives me lots of free time to just clean up, get rid of my stuff, and enjoy this beer. And you'll notice I'm taking my sweet time with this. Because as much as I enjoy it, when you're dealing with 8% fuckers, you really have to pace yourself with this. Yeah. I also see that I have plenty of potatoes over here that are left over. These I'm probably just going to keep aside and cook on another time. And I should probably do a bit of cleanup. I'm almost kind of grateful that I didn't have to deal with the onion on this time. Because, you know, remember my past few vlogs where I had to sniff the onion like an idiot? I realized, oops, it's game over. Oh. They're not playing that joke anymore. Maybe even my editor is getting sick of it. But then on that note, they gotta do better when it comes to game over screens. Because you look at something like this, you see game over, but then it gives the option continue or end, so it's not like it's, you know, gonna be the end of the world for you. There's gotta be some other kind of threat or something to make you kind of feel a little bit more, I don't know, unsettled? could have gone my whole life without being threatened by a demon in a Speedo. So while we're going to be taking a break here to get the salmon set up, I'm going to go disinfect myself and perform an exorcism on myself to get rid of that ungodly sight. There. Holy water, I'm keeping aside in case of an emergency. But I'm going to make it into another mixture. There. Vinegar, the all-natural disinfectant, and a bit of Mr. Clean, all-purpose cleaner. So if these three things don't clean my eyes, don't clean my soul, I don't know what else is going to do it. We'll be right back. Ugh. Okay, that was probably not the best way to disinfect my eyes. But what do you expect? I had a devil Speedo man tempting me. Ugh. Whatever. Let's put that into the past. And let's move on to the next step of our dish, the trout. So first thing I'm going to do is prepare my marinade for that. And I'll admit, I'm making this up on the fly, mostly because I remember this from a recipe I looked up ages ago that was like a maple whiskey salmon. And while it's going to be the same principle, I'm thinking for the size piece I got, it's not worth to get a whole bunch of marinade in here. First thing I'm going to do is start off with, let's say, 2 tablespoons, give or take, of some maple syrup. On second thought, maybe I should do 3 tablespoons of that. This will be a really, really sweet one. I think it's going to be some good stuff in here. And then, since I mentioned some whiskey, let's pull this secret weapon out. My beautiful Florence or Firenze shot glass. Great memories of my trip to Italy. And then next, I have some Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey. If you think I'm going to be doing a shot over here, it's not going to happen. Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey, I had like one bad experience with this, and that's as far as I'm going to go with that story. So, I'm going to take 1 shot of this stuff and administer it to the maple syrup, because the whiskey actually gave a really good flavor in this kind of stuff. And I've learned that if you're going to use whiskey for any kind of cooking, you don't need to use any kind of fancy scotches. Just the basic stuff will get the job done in this. So mix it all together. It's going to be a nice woody, sweet, honey maple flavor. But I feel like there's some kind of kick missing. Actually, I know just what it is. Gonna take some chili flakes, add this in. There, good generous amount. Mix it all up. And then you have your basic marinade. Simple as that. And the beauty is that I'm timing this pretty well, that once I get close to the 20-minute mark on my potatoes, then I'll be able to add the salmon into the oven, and I'll be able to have everything to go at once. Hallelujah, everyone. I guess my first step would be to take a random pizza pan or any kind of pan, just sprinkle a little bit of oil on it so it doesn't stick, because you don't want to have the fish stick to this thing and then you have to peel it off like a fool. Be very generous with this. Rub it around. There. So then with this, it should be fine. And I'm going to take my piece of trout, fold it up pretty well as well. Then just lay it on top here. Actually, I should wash my hands first because I have another idea. So there was a trick somebody had told me that I have yet to figure out what it is. Sprinkle a little bit of lemon juice into the fish and then give it a bit of massage therapy, I suppose. Maybe it tastes better with that. Maybe there's going to be less germs. Maybe a more pleasurable fish is going to be more delicious. I've figured it out. Whatever the case, this is in. And then next, you can add your marinade to this. I kind of wonder if I overdid it though. Yeah, I'll admit, I'm kind of experimenting here and hoping this pays off, as opposed to blowing up in my face. But then again, if whiskey blows up in my face with maple syrup, then I guess it's not the worst of things that happen, right? There. I sprinkle a little bit of salt and then just a few rotations of ground pepper in here to give it a bit of extra kick in case the chili flakes aren't good enough. And then after I'm done here I am being my own cameraman, we're gonna put this on the bottom layer and then we'll see how this goes. This should cook for about a good 20 minutes. And I have 27 minutes left on the oven, so that's more than enough time. So with that in the oven, I realized that a lot of the stuff I do is gonna be gluten-esque, even the meat-like flavors. So there may be some vegetables I should add to this to get a bit more nutrition to it. And it was something I did a few weeks ago that I feel I could probably highlight once again too. So let's do that as well. So, in the last little bit since I've been doing this vlog, I've realized I enjoy mushrooms a lot. And sometimes you don't even have to do anything too fancy with it. Just use a little bit of oil, a bit of salt and pepper, and you got something that's really tasty. So this is what I did a few weeks ago, is I actually changed up my oil choice a little bit, and I used just a little bit of sesame oil. This you're going to find pretty commonly in some Asian cooking, and I've used it in bulgogi in the past. Really good stuff that I should probably highlight one of these days. Gives it a nice sweeter flavor. So you can put like maybe 1, maybe 2 tablespoons of this, heat it up to medium heat, and then once you're done you take a full pack of sliced white mushrooms. But the truth is that you can take any mushrooms that you want and it'll still be just as tasty. I personally love some portobellos too because they're so meaty. That is as much meat as you can get from vegetables, you know. But you put that in, you put a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. It's really tasty stuff. Now let's see how this is doing. Okay, not bad at all now. Because I'll admit, I opened this up earlier and the whiff of the whiskey and the maple syrup, it kind of hit me and made me start choking. And not in the good kind of choking like some people enjoy. It hit me all at once. But I'm pretty sure once this is all done, I'm going to be enjoying this too. So honestly kind of stoked. Even if it's kind of like a mad scientist approach to... Finding my words again? Mad scientist approach to... Take 3, because third time is a charm. A mad scientist approach to salmon. Trout. This ain't gonna be going well, is it? Alright, mushrooms are all softened up. Smell pretty sweet too. Safe to say, time to cut a feed on this, keep it aside until it's ready to serve. And I've got less than 10 minutes, actually like close to 9 minutes 30 seconds until my fish is ready, and my potatoes. It looks like it's going to be doing pretty well, so let's see. Not bad at all. So I'm going to say, whenever you do marinade on your fish, you'll realize that, well, especially on a red fish, you'll see that it's a very lighter color as opposed to if you just season it with salt, pepper, oregano, or just dry spices. But it should still be pretty tasty. And the scent's not hitting me as bad as it was in the beginning, so I'm kind of stoked to try this out now. Yeah, but I will say, maple whiskey salmon or maple whiskey trout on the barbecue, you cannot top that because you're charring up on the fire. It's such a beautiful thing. Okay, almost 20 minutes to go, so let's see how this fish is doing. And yep, I've already administered my mushroom therapy to see if I have a good portion of veggies. Let's look. Ooh, nice. Maybe I'll keep it for 1 more minute. Well, everything seems to be good to go to try out the salmon and the scalloped potatoes. I'll admit the one downside to this is that I created a bit of a mess on the pan that I cooked this on. But I guess if you let it soak, then it should be fine. Well, let's find out how this tastes. Hopefully I know what I was doing this time. I don't taste too much maple in here. Not even some of that honey jack that I put on. But it's still pretty good. It gives a bit of a sweet undercoating or undertaste. Or at least that's the best thing I could say. But it's definitely satisfying. Mushrooms are good too, but you already know that because I've already done this before. Now let's see what the scalloped potato is like. Also pretty tasty. But honest opinion, I probably should have kept this in for another 10 minutes. But you know, when I cook this up, I probably just need to put it in the microwave for a little while longer for leftovers and it'll soften up, so it's all good. Not bad at all. And of course, the skin is the most important part of the fish. And honestly, that's where most of the honey flavor is supposed to be. Super satisfying. But on that note, I'm going to enjoy the rest of the supper that took a little while to cook, like a bit longer than expected. And I'm going to enjoy this with my final brew of the night. This is going to be a Samuel Adams Boston Lager, or specifically a Sam 76. One of my buddies told me about this one. I'm a big fan of Sam Adams, because I have some pretty good memories about that kind of beer. Mostly for a good conversation with a close friend of mine. But this one's like a combination of a lager with an amber too. So it's a very, I don't know, like a blend, I suppose. Not as much of a blend as a white stout, because that's like blonde beer or white beer, but it tastes like it's chocolate, coffee, or whatnot. This one seems okay, and the beauty of it is like 4.7%. So after that 8% fucker, this will bring me back down to earth. Now here's the taste test. Yeah, I would not believe that this is an amber. This is pretty good. Nice satisfying meal, satisfying brews, and a satisfying Friday night. And actually the Friday night before Valentine's Day weekend. So while some of you are probably thinking about getting heart-shaped candies, heart-shaped chocolates, this is the only thing I'm thinking about when I think of hearts. Yep, the bare necessities of life. So on that note, this is another edition of the Watergate Cheese Cafe, signing off. So thanks for watching, everyone. If you like what you see, don't forget to hit that subscribe button below, hit a like, leave a comment or send a request if you want, and above all else, keep spreading the cheese. Everybody just loves cheesy jokes every now and then. Peace, everyone.